Hey, anyone else? Anything else, April? How about public comment? Please.
Good afternoon. I'm a little uncertain about why we are. My name is Heather Prewitt. I'm a resident at Bailey.
Thank you.
I'm a little confused as to what we're doing today. I know this was noticed as the public budget hearing, but we don't know what budget we're considering as the public. I agree with Commissioner Mitchell when she said that words matter. A draft budget is not synonymous with proposed budget. The county has asserted that the draft budget presented to the board on October 8th was sufficient to comply with the requirement for the county to submit a proposed budget to the governing body on October 15th. I respectfully disagree. Colorado Revised Statute 29-1-103 stipulates the minimum required budget information in a proposed budget. The proposed budget is required to present a complete financial plan by fund and by spending agency. Specific elements that are required include corresponding actual figures for the prior fiscal year and a written budget message describing the important features of the proposed budget, including a statement of the budgetary basis of accounting used and a description of the services to be delivered during the budget year. The draft budget that was provided to the public had neither of these items. The 2024 actual numbers were not in the draft. Rather, it was a 2024 year-end estimate. And that brings me to the question, are actual numbers available? When I went to pull the audit, the county has failed to complete the 2024 financial audit, which was required to be filed with the state auditor by July 31st. You were not eligible for an extension until September 30th because you didn't have your prior year 2023 financial audit completed on time either. When a proposed budget is received, statute also says that the governing body shall cause a notice to be published. Shall, according to Cornell Law School, is an imperative command, usually indicating that certain actions are mandatory. What I was provided as a notice was something that was initiated by employees in September before there was even a draft budget available. I appreciate that the employees were trying to lay that out and provide the public with that information. That's not what the statute requires. It requires the governing body to effect that notice. It also tells you what needs to be in that notification. The date and the time of the hearing are required to be in the notice. It was not in the notice that was published. It also says that a statement that the proposed budget is available for inspection by the public. The public notice correctly states that a draft budget would be available to the public. To this date, we don't have a proposed budget. I appreciate all the commissioner's effort to work transparently in this budget process. But all of that work is occurring much too late. CRS 29-1-105 requires that on a date no later than October 15th, the person appointed to prepare the budget will submit such budget to the governing body. It further requires that prior to October 15th, all spending agencies shall prepare and submit budget estimates for their expenditure requirements. We're still doing that to this day. We began working with spending agencies at a work session on October 29th, 2025, after the deadline had already passed. It appears to me that you have until December 31st to approve this budget. I respectfully request that you postpone the adoption of the budget, fulfill your obligation to cause the appropriate notice to be published, and provide the public with a proposed budget that we can review with as much time as is feasible before that deadline. While you will still have missed the requirements, this would demonstrate that the BOCC is attempting to comply and be transparent and provide the public with an opportunity to weigh in on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Cyndie Sherriff from Bailey. I have to first say that I completely agree with everything that Ms. Prewitt just presented to you. I would also like to add, public budget hearing is for a purpose for the public. I have been doing this for a decade, watching my school board do this. A public budget hearing is typically a hearing held on its own. It is to receive comment and opposition to your budget. It is not for presentations from your staff or commentary from the governing body at all. My comments are these. The general fund revenue and distribution of $300,000 for forest reserve estimated to be received by year end. The federal government has not appropriated these funds for disbursement. These funds are typically distributed in the spring or early summer. Secure Rural Schools funding was last approved for FY23 and has not been reauthorized. According to the USDA, Park County receives a 25% payment available under the 1908 Act of $165,009. This payment would be received in 2025 based on the government fund's 2024 fiscal year data. Both the year-end estimate and the proposed budget amount of $300,000 are not reasonable estimates based on currently known information. Department 8 Bailey Library Fund was created in 2023 with a receipt of $625,000 in the 2024 and 2025 year estimates show revenue of $161,098 and $80,549. What additional funds were received that were restricted to this fund? Why does the 2025 year-end estimate for the library include a charge of $26,000 for health insurance, which exceeds salaries and wages, and no amount is budgeted for health insurance in 2026? ARPA fund shows a deficit budget balance of $871,932 after transferring $100,000 to the general fund. It appears to me that the general fund will be required to transfer $871,932 to the ARPA fund or reduce the capital project expenditure that was coded to the fund. How can you approve a deficit fund balance for a fund that has been spent? Department 16 Fleet Services shows $700,000 of other financing sources. What is the source of these funds? Department 11 Public Works. Why is the debt service protected to almost double what was financed? When and how is the additional debt authorized? What is the county policy for utilizing the capital project fund? Capital outlay is in numerous and various departments. Why is the coroner facility in the capital fund project not in the coroner department? The GASB definition of a capital project refers to a governmental fund used to account for financial resources, specifically for the acquisition or construction of major capital assets. These funds are legally restricted and contractually required for capital outlays, ensuring that expenditures for capital projects receive the necessary resources. Examples of capital project funds include building out public roads and infrastructure. While not required, a summary reporting would be appropriate and appreciated for transparency. Can the public be provided information within the budget, such as total salaries, total projected capital outlay, etc.? Budget finance supplies have been budgeted 10 times as much as the budget. And 0127, 0121 legal services, a reduction in this area seems odd as previous years have been well over budget. 0129 public affairs received $1,000 in donations. Why? 1911 planning revenue STR license renewal, both are budgeted at way more than has ever been collected. How is that being accomplished? 1912 STR revenues. Is this a duplicate? Why would two streams of revenue be budgeted for? And the sheriff revenue is no transfer from the lodging tax that has been recognized. Why? The lodging tax fund 23 appears to have a typo in there. I don't want to cover that. However, regarding 23 expenditures ending in 110, this should be a fund transfer to the sheriff, not to pay salaries. The constituents of Park County voted for the tax to go to law enforcement and public safety. Transfer to the sheriff would be compliant to the ballot language. This is not. Furthermore, every other entity receiving benefit from this tax is just a transfer. For some reason, the sheriff department is inconsistent. This is not transparent, it's confusing and not compliant to the ballot language. As stated by Ms. Prewitt, this budget lacks basic information such as a budget message, accurate numbers. Additionally, there is no basis to show how these numbers were determined. Budgets are for forecasting based on previous expenditures. The trends within the budget are ignored, and this is reflected in the proposed budget. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I have no way to respond to that. I was writing as fast as I could and I got lost at about topic 4. So we'll go back and listen to the recording and see what we can do. Any particular general response, ladies and gentlemen? You are absolutely correct. Our 2023 budget was, or audit was late, and our 2024 audit was late, and our 2025 audit is late. That is correct. We are embarrassed and ashamed of it, but we are in that position where we have not met the deadline, and we are working on it right now. Comments?
I have no comments, though. We did publish our announcement in the Flume in September for the budget hearing. We normally, when we have this inked and finalized, we then notice the public hearing for the final draft budget, the final proposed budget. And that will happen before, well, usually early December. So that will happen. So just know that that's how we did it last year, and that's how we're doing it this year. So, well, that's okay. We're getting it done. When, you know, budgets are easy when you have a lot of surplus money, but when you are scratching and cutting in areas where it's really difficult and painful, it takes a lot more time and thought to get it right, because we have to get it as right as possible to provide the best service possible to the people. So that's where we're at. So thank you very much for your comments.
I'm just going to add real quickly that I'm just going to listen to more public comments, whatever else may be out there online, and then I'll make a slight comment afterwards.
Okay, anything else on this, April? Okay, with that, we'll move on to our next item.
If we got to finish public comment.
Yeah.
No, we're not. We're still on the agenda.
Well, anyone else?
Public comment for the budget hearing.
Anyone
Correct.
else want to make a?
Anyone else online?
Pardon me.
Anyone
Anyone else on
online?
Zoom? I don't see the whole list of people.
No hands up. I move we close public comment.
I'll second that.
Proper motion and second to close public comment on the budget hearing. Further discussion being none, call the question. Those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Quick
Pose same
comment
sign.
on this issue with the public comment, and that I understand where they're coming from, and we will do better. I can promise you that. Okay.